Level 1 Ingredient Handler. You don't enter the protein powder factory through the clean front office. You enter through the receiving area, where the air is dry, cold, and filled with a faint, sweet smell that sticks to the inside of your mask. Before this product becomes a scoop in someone's shaker, before it appears in a gym bag or on a kitchen counter with promises of strength, recovery, and lean muscle, it arrives here as heavy bags, sealed drums, stacked pallets, and ingredient codes you do not understand yet. Your first job is to move raw materials. Whey protein, casein, cocoa powder, sweeteners, flavor bases, stabilizers, and packaging supplies. The forklift beeps behind you, plastic wrap crackles around pallets. A scanner chirps in your hand as you match lot numbers to the production schedule. It feels basic at first, almost too simple to matter. Move this bag here, check that label. Keep damaged material separate. Don't block the aisle, don't mix the wrong lot. But the longer you work, the more you realize the factory's trust begins at this bottom level. One torn bag can spread fine powder across the floor. One wrong pallet can send the wrong ingredient into the blending room. One missed code can make the lab question the entire batch before it ever reaches a tub. The customer will never see your gloves covered in pale dust. They will never feel your shoulders tighten as you drag another bag into place. They will only read the number on the label and believe it 25 grams of protein. Low sugar, smooth taste, easy mixing. But here, at the beginning of the system, belief starts with weight, dust, and precision. As another pallet disappears toward production, you ask yourself, how many people stand behind one scoop of protein powder? Level 2. Powder line worker. Now you move from the receiving area to the powder line, where the factory stops feeling like a warehouse and starts feeling like a machine built around rhythm. The bags you helped move are opened, checked again, and lifted toward stainless steel hoppers. The air is brighter here, sharper, filled with fine white dust that clings to gloves, sleeves, masks, and the edges of your safety glasses. You do not see the finished product yet. You see powder moving through funnels, pipes, screens, and sealed containers, disappearing into the system one measured step at a time. Your role is simple but tense. Feed the line, keep the flow steady, watch for clumps, spills, wrong bags, blocked hoppers, or anything that slows production. The machine does not care that your arms are tired. It does not care that the powder makes your throat feel dry. It only knows whether material is moving or not. At level 1, your job was to protect ingredients before they entered the factory's bloodstream. Here, you feel what happens once they enter. A small spill can become a sanitation issue. A clogged screen can delay the batch. A wrong material opened at the wrong station can stop everything while supervisors trace the mistake back through paperwork and scans. Around you, operators speak in short phrases because the line noise swallows long conversations. Keep it moving. Check the hopper. Slow feed. Stop feed. Clean that edge. You begin to understand that protein powder is not born clean inside a plastic tub. It begins as controlled dust, moved carefully through metal, airflow, and human attention. Outside, someone will shake it for 10 seconds and complain if it does not mix smoothly. Inside, you are learning how much work it takes just to make powder behave. And once you can keep up with the line, they move you closer to the place where a small mistake can change the whole formula. Level 3, Blending Operator. Now you stand beside the blender, and the factory's pressure changes from movement to proportion. At the powder line, your job was to keep material flowing here. The question is not just whether the ingredients move, but whether they become the right product. Whey, cocoa powder, sweetener, flavor base, stabilizers, and texture agents all enter the stainless steel system in controlled amounts, and the room seems to hold its breath while the batch begins. The machine is huge, sealed, and louder than you expected. It turns slowly at first, then settles into a heavy mechanical rhythm that vibrates through the floor. You watch the batch sheet, the timer, the ingredient sequence, the weight checks, and the operator screen. Nothing feels random now. Every scoop a customer trusts depends on this hidden math. Too much sweetener, and the product tastes artificial. Too little flavor, and the powder feels weak. Poor mixing, and one tub may be stronger than another. A misstep can turn expensive ingredients into a batch nobody can release. At level 2, Powder moved like dust through the system. Here, it becomes identity. Chocolate is not just chocolate. Vanilla is not just vanilla. High protein is not just a phrase on the label. It has to be built evenly, batch after batch. Inside this machine, you pull a sample, seal it, label it, and send it toward the lab, knowing someone else will judge whether the blend is truly consistent. Around you, workers check valves, clean contact points, and watch the clock, because the next batch is already waiting. You begin to feel the difference between labor and responsibility. Before, a mistake slowed the line. Now, a mistake can change what the customer actually puts into their body. And as the blender keeps turning, you realize the factory is asking you to protect something invisible. Trust measured in grams, taste, and texture. But once the formula is blended, another question appears. Can people actually stand drinking it every day? Level 4 flavor technician at level 4. The product stops being only nutrition and starts becoming something people must want to taste. You enter a smaller room near the production floor, where sealed containers of flavor bases sit beside sample cups, test batches, mixing notes, and clean stainless steel tools. The air smells like chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, sweet cream, and something chemical underneath that reminds you this is still a factory, not a dessert shop. Your role is to help test and adjust flavor performance before a formula becomes a full production run. You measure small amounts, mix samples, watch how the powder dissolves, and wait for the first sip to reveal what the label cannot. A product can have the right protein content and still fail if it tastes chalky, bitter, too sweet, too thin, or artificial. At level 3, you learned that the blend has to be even. Here, you learn that even is not enough. The customer does not drink a spreadsheet. They drink expectation. If the chocolate tastes weak, they may never buy it again. If the vanilla smells strange, they blame the brand. If the powder clumps in the shaker, they decide the whole product feels cheap. You watch a senior technician reject a sample after one quiet taste, and the room suddenly feels heavier. No alarm sounds, no machine stops. But somewhere in that cup, the product has failed. You begin to understand that flavor is not decoration, it is discipline. It has to survive storage, packaging, shipping, mixing with water or milk, and the tired mood of someone drinking it after a workout. As you rinse another sample cup, the sweet smell on your gloves becomes almost too strong, and you realize the next level will not judge the flavor by taste alone. It will judge whether the final tub looks sealed, complete, and trustworthy enough for someone to buy. Level 5 packaging technician at level 5. The powder finally begins to look like the product the customer recognizes. You move to the packaging line, where empty tubs arrive in perfect rows. Lids rattle through feeders, scoops drop into place, labels wrap around plastic, and filled containers move forward under bright inspection lights. The smell is still sweet and powdery, but now it mixes with cardboard, plastic, adhesive, and the warm mechanical scent of machines that have been running all morning. Your role is to keep the tub, the scoop, the seal, the label, the weight, and the lot code aligned. It sounds like small work until you see how fast one small error can multiply. If a tub is underfilled, the customer feels cheated. If a seal is weak, trust breaks before the first scoop. If a scoop is missing, someone thinks the company was careless. If the label is crooked or the lot code fails, the product may be stopped before it ever reaches a shelf. At level 4, flavor decided whether people would want the powder. Here, packaging decides whether they will believe it is safe, complete, and professional. You stand close to the line, watching containers pass with almost hypnotic speed. A jam forms near the lid station, and suddenly the rhythm breaks. Workers move in quickly. Someone clears the blocked tub. Someone checks for spilled powder. Someone pulls questionable units aside. You realize packaging is the final face of the factory. No customer will see the blender, the flavor room, or the ingredient warehouse. They will see this tub and make a judgment in seconds. By the end of your shift, your eyes follow seals and labels, even when you try to rest them. The line restarts, tubs roll forward again, and you understand that the next level will ask a harder question. What happens when the cleanest-looking product still has to prove what is inside? Level 6. Lab Quality Tester at Level 6. The factory becomes quiet again, but not calmer. You step into the lab where the bright lights are colder, the tables are cleaner, and every sample seems to carry the weight of the entire production run. The powder that passed through receiving, feeding, blending, flavor testing, and packaging now sits in small containers under labels, waiting to be questioned. Your role is to test what the marketing language cannot prove by itself. You check texture, moisture, particle consistency, mixability, weight accuracy, and basic quality markers before the batch can move forward. The room smells faintly sweet, but underneath it is the sharp scent of cleaning solution and sterile plastic. Nothing here feels emotional, yet everything here protects emotion. The customer's trust, the brand's promise, the feeling that what is printed on the tub is actually true. At level 5, a product could look perfect from the outside. Here you learn that appearance means almost nothing unless the sample survives inspection. A scoop may look smooth but clump badly in water. A batch may smell fine but show inconsistent texture. A tub may be sealed beautifully but still need to be held because something in the results does not match the expected range. You watch a senior technician pause over a result, and the silence feels louder than any alarm on the production floor. If the lab holds the batch, packaging waits, distribution waits, sales waits, someone will ask why. Someone will push for speed. But the lab does not exist to keep everyone comfortable. It exists to stop the factory from sending doubt into the world. As you record another result, you begin to understand that quality is not a slogan, it is a gate. And when you are the person standing at that gate, the hardest part is knowing that everyone wants you to say yes before you are ready. Level 7 Production Supervisor at Level 7. You are no longer responsible for one station. You are responsible for the way the whole shift breathes. The ingredient area, powder line, blending room, flavor station, packaging line, and lab all connect through you now. And every small delay seems to find your radio before it finds anyone else. A pallet is missing from staging. A hopper is feeding slower than expected. A packaging machine needs adjustment. The lab is holding a sample. One worker is new, another looks exhausted, and the production schedule on the board does not care about either of them. Your role is to keep the shift moving without letting the system become careless. At level 6, quality was a gate. Here, you learn that leadership means deciding how long everyone can wait at that gate before pressure starts turning into conflict. The line operators want clear instructions. The technicians want time to fix problems properly. The managers above you want output. The lab wants proof. The warehouse wants space. And you stand in the middle, translating pressure into decisions. When a minor packaging issue appears, you choose to stop the line long enough to inspect it. Nobody cheers. Some workers look relieved. Others look frustrated because they know the target number is slipping. That is the lonely part of this level. Every decision disappoints someone. If you push faster, quality may suffer. If you slow down, delivery may suffer. If you ignore fatigue, people suffer. By the end of the shift, you understand that supervision is not about giving orders from above. It is about absorbing pressure from every direction and still protecting the product, the people, and the promise on the tub. But once you learn to control a shift, the next question becomes larger. Can you fix the system before the same problems return tomorrow? Level 8 Nutrition Formula Specialist at Level 8. You step away from the noise of the line and into the room where the product is designed before the factory ever touches it. The walls are cleaner, the screens are brighter, and the pressure is quieter, but it reaches farther. Your role is to shape the formula people will trust. Protein per serving, sweetness, texture, calories, carbs, fat, flavor balance, serving size, and the claims printed on the tub. At Level 7, you protected the shift from falling apart. Here, you learn that many factory problems begin long before production starts. A formula that looks strong on paper may clump in water. A flavor that tastes good in a lab sample may fade after storage. A serving size that looks attractive for marketing may create tension with cost, texture, and customer expectation. You sit with sample tubs, nutrition panels, supplier notes, and test results, realizing that every small adjustment creates a chain reaction. Add more protein, and texture may suffer. Reduce sugar, and flavor may feel thin. Change sweetener, and the aftertaste may annoy customers. Choose a cheaper ingredient, and the lab may see more variation. Marketing wants clean claims. Production wants a formula that runs smoothly. Finance wants margin. Customers want results. They can believe you are not just building powder anymore. You are building a promise that has to survive machines, shipping, storage, taste, and skepticism. The hardest part is that the customer will never see this balancing act. They will only turn the tub around, read the label, and decide in seconds whether to trust it. As you look at the formula sheet, you realize the next level will make the problem even bigger, because a formula means nothing if the world cannot supply what it needs. Level 9 Supply Chain Manager. At level 9, the factory is no longer the whole world. It becomes one point inside a larger system of suppliers, warehouses, freight routes, packaging vendors, ingredient markets, and demand forecasts that never stop changing. You now manage the flow of what the factory needs before production can even begin. Whey protein, flavor bases, sweeteners, tubs, lids, labels, scoops, cartons, and transport capacity. At level 8, you learned that a formula depends on balance. Here, you learn that balance can break before the ingredients ever reach the building. A delay from one supplier can stop a blending schedule. A shortage of plastic tubs can leave finished powder with nowhere to go. A sudden rise in dairy-based ingredient costs can change margins overnight. A flavor component arriving late can force production to switch priorities, leaving workers on the floor to deal with the consequences of decisions made far away from them. Your day is built around emails, forecasts, inventory reports, supplier calls, freight updates, and uncomfortable questions. Do you order more and risk holding expensive stock? Do you order less and risk running out? Do you approve a substitute ingredient and create more testing pressure for the lab? Do you protect the formula, the schedule, the cost, or the customer promise first? The strange part is how invisible your work becomes when it succeeds. If every pallet arrives on time, nobody thinks about you. If one shipment misses its window, everyone suddenly knows your name. You look at a screen showing demand rising for one flavor while another ingredient sits delayed at a warehouse, and you feel the full weight of distance. The customer sees a tub on a shelf, the factory sees a production order, but you see the fragile chain behind both. You begin to understand that supply chain management is not just moving materials. It is moving risk before risk becomes visible. And once you learn how fragile the system is, the final level asks the coldest question of all: who decides what promise the brand can afford to keep? Level 10 Supplement Brand Owner. At level 10, the factory becomes quieter because you are no longer standing inside it. You sit in a bright office with product samples on the table, sales reports on the screen, customer reviews in one window, supplier costs in another, and a shaker cup placed beside a stack of decisions that no longer feel simple. At level 9, you saw how fragile the supply chain was. Here, you decide how much of that fragility the customer will ever feel. Your role is to control the brand, the formula, the price, the packaging, the claims, the marketing, the influencers, the retailers, the margin, and the future direction of the product. People around you speak in clean business language: growth, positioning, premium, pricing, reformulation, consumer trust, market expansion. But behind every phrase, you now see the levels you climbed through. You remember the ingredient handler lifting bags in powdery air. You remember the line worker feeding the system while dust clung to their mask. You remember the blender turning invisible ratios into a product people put into their bodies. You remember the flavor technician rejecting a sample that looked fine but tasted wrong. You remember the packaging line where a weak seal could destroy trust. You remember the lab holding a batch while everyone waited. You remember the supervisor choosing between speed and quality. You remember the formula specialist balancing nutrition, taste, cost, and belief. You remember the supply chain manager trying to keep the whole system from breaking before production even began. Now all of it reaches your desk. If you raise the price, customers may feel betrayed. If you lower quality, the lab will see it before the market does. If you chase a trend too aggressively, the formula may become more about attention than nutrition. If you promise too much, the brand may sell faster for a while, but trust will become the bill that comes later. You lift the shaker cup and realize how small the final product looks compared with the system behind it. A scoop of powder can look simple, clean, almost weightless. But now you know it carries labor, machines, formulas, tests, supply contracts, marketing pressure, and the private hopes of people who buy it, because they want to feel stronger, healthier, or more in control of their bodies. You began at the bottom, where trust was hidden in lot numbers and heavy bags. You ended at the top, where trust becomes a strategy, a risk, and a responsibility. The product is never just powder. It is pressure compressed into something the world can scoop, shake, and drink, without thinking about the people behind it. So the next time someone opens a tub and asks whether they can believe the label, the real question is not only what is inside the powder, it is who protected that promise before it reached them. If you want to see another hidden system from the bottom to the top, comment which factory or global brand we should enter next.